already? I'd like to call this meeting at 6:31 on April the 9th. And I'll do the invocation, and Ms. Robinson, would you please do the pledge?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Everybody would bow their heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all you do for each of us in this room, online watching, and all the citizens of Summerfield. Lord, you are loving, good, and gracious. You continue to never give up and always sustain us day by day. We come to you, Lord, in this moment, carrying burdens, concerns, joy, and hope. We are trusting in you to hold us together and give us the knowledge to lead this town forward together. Lord, be with all of us tonight. May we voice our truth and listen with open heart. Lord, help us use our individual talents for the betterment of this town. With much gratitude and love for you, in your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a new member with us this evening. We have a new town attorney, and I wanted to welcome Mr. James Hoffman. We call him Jim, and we're really excited to have him here with us and join the team. There was a unanimous decision that was made by council during a special call meeting on March 22nd of 2024. Mr. Hoffman brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to our community. He's a graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point, and he holds a law degree from the College of William and Mary Law School. He's been in private practice and as corporate counsel. He served as a city attorney for both in Northern Virginia and North Carolina, including Greensboro. Mr. Hoffman is the founder of the American Heroes for North Carolina, a nonprofit organization to encourage veteran leadership in the community, and it's now merged with the Veterans Bridge Home. And he continues to serve as an executive member of the Veterans Bridge Home Triad Regional Board of Governors. Mr. Hoffman's commitment to the local community is evident through his active participation and leadership on numerous local boards, such as the Center for Creative Leadership, Greensboro Urban Ministry, Guilford Child Development, and Ready for School, Ready for Life. We are all confident in his knowledge and what he's going to bring to the table, and we're all excited to work with you. And Mr. Hoffman, I'm going to start with you with our introductions, if you'll just announce your name, and then we'll go around the table and end with Sarah.
I may interrupt your roll call just to say that I appreciate the confidence that council has shown in me and the opportunity you provide to work together with you and this very experienced and professional staff to serve the residents of Summerfield. It's my honor to be here with you. So I'm Jim Hoffman and present, and I'm reporting that Scott Whitaker, our town manager, is not here tonight. He is off on training.
Thank you.
Brad Rentz, Planning Director.
Dee Hall, Finance Officer.
John Doggett.
Heath Clay.
Lynn Williams Devaney.
Janelle Robinson.
Jonathan Hamilton.
Sarah Tibbs, Town Clerk.
Okay,
You
I
were
wanna-
supposed to excuse the mayor, correct? For people who are not here?
We can do that.
we can do that. So I found out this afternoon that the mayor will not be in attendance, so is everybody good with excusing him from tonight's meeting? And I don't think we need to do anything else.
I'm sure the consensus will come.
Do we have a consensus? I saw head shakes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Perhaps a thumbs up next time. Okay, on the agenda tonight, I wanted to make 2 additions and to that. I wanted to add a closed session in order for client attorney privilege. And I would like for that to go between items 11 and 12, or become 12 and then adjournment become 13. I'm not sure how you need to list it. And then under number 10, business from mayor and council, I wanted to add item J, just a quick update on our IT, because we've had a change in our IT.
I have to get reason for closed session, ma'am. What's the reason for general statute law?
I'm sorry, can you read the general statute, please? I passed my sheet down.
It's GS 143-318 11A3.
Thank you, John. And then also, I talked to Ms. Tibbetts about the meeting minutes. I had a couple of amendments. Did anybody else have any amendments?
I think I spoke with Sarah too, and we were talking about just moving them, since there was quite a few little things that we were talking about, to move into the next session.
Yes.
Is that what you understood?
Yes.
Sarah?
So, do we have a consensus? Do we need to make a motion for that? Okay. No, to move the amendments. We have to make a motion to move the amendments.
Moving from the agenda.
Remove them. Okay.
So you would just remove?
Or we could not approve them.
All of them?
I would just remove them and then put them on for next time.
Okay, just to remove them. Okay, so I need a motion to do that, please.
So, if I understand it right, I move that we remove from the consent agenda under 4B the outstanding minutes on this agenda. We add 10J for updates on IT, and we add 1 between 11 and 12, making 13 now, for a closed session to talk with our attorney. And Mr. Dodd, would you mind giving me that statute again?
GS 143-318 11A3.
So pursuant to that statute, and that's my motion.
I second it.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any more discussion? Okay, I'd like to call a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor? Okay, so that passes the consent agenda. Does anybody have any announcements? I have just a couple that I wanted to share. Yeah, Missy. Oh, I'm sorry. Minutes.
Madam Mayor, Pro Tem.
Yes, sir, I skipped C.
No, you will need to have a motion to adopt the agenda, to accept the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
As amended.
Thank you. Okay. Now I need a motion to adopt the agenda as it has been amended.
And adopting this agenda will adopt the budget amendment as well as the contract for audit, is that right?
Yes. So was there any discussion on that before we move forward?
I move that we adopt as amended.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, so announcements. Did anybody have any announcements? Did y'all have anything from staff from our town?
I was just gonna say Founder's Day.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too. So Founder's Day is coming up. We're still having the cake bake-off, and well, we're gonna start, or I'm gonna start looking for judges that's what I was supposed to do, and it'll be with all the local churches. So we do have a few cakes that are being made, and also I have a couple of people that are going to submit sign designs. So if anybody is interested in doing that, the winner is going to receive a gift basket from Haverland at Redhead. Oh no, I forgot the realtor's name. I'm sorry. Redhead and
Is it Jessica Haverland?
yes, with Jessica Haverland. I'll say her name, but she's donating a basket to the winner for that. Ms. Hall, do you have any other statements you'd like to make about Founder's Day? How long can people sign up for the parade?
We still have openings for the parade, but we are full with vendors and food vendors and space vendors are full.
Okay,
Well, that's great.
yep. Okay, thank you.
Who does it? Is that Cheryl that works there?
Cheryl,
Yes.
she's a rock star.
Well, totally
Yes,
appreciate it.
Okay, what about the emergency service reports? We'll do the fire district first. That was in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yep.
I have that for the Summerfield Fire Department. In March, the Summerfield Fire District ran 24 fire-related calls, 55 EMS-related calls, and 43 other calls. Their total call total for March was 122 incidents. They also installed 10 child seats and 6 smoke detectors. They have the following safety tips. When humidity is low and the wind starts to blow, your fire will quickly grow. Please use caution and check for burn bans or red flag warns before burning yard debris and lighting your fire pits. When spring cleaning, remember to keep your chemicals stored out of the reach of children.
Mr. Dog, oh, sorry.
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Doggett, do you have the sheriff's report?
Yep, for the month of March, the Sheriff's Office took a total of 18 cases reported in the Summerfield town limits. There were no major incidents in the town limits for the month. Most of the reports involved simple assault, 5 of them, and 2 counts of fraud.
Okay. We are going to move to any committee reports. I know we have a history report.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn.
Yes.
I don't do this every meeting, so it's time to catch up a little bit.
Thank you.
Find out what we've been up to. As you know, the Martin and the Gordon house, or the Gordon hardware, have been sold. The owners are working. The Martin house is really going to town. And I don't know if you know it, but the history committee thought about getting grants and trying to fix up those properties ourselves. That would have been a huge mistake. Fortunately, we found Preservation North Carolina, and they found us some capable people to upgrade them. I think we're going to have some really 2 nice properties down there. We're revamping the display that's in the town hall, trying to organize it a little better in terms of telling the history of the town. More interpretation, a few more artifacts. Mia, our committee, is working on that, doing a good job. We had a safe that came out of Gordon Hardware. And the story from some of the old timers that we've been able to get a hold of indicated back in the 30s, really late 20s, early 30s, there were 2 banks. There was the first bank down around the railroad station, and the people up here, there was actually a social division between the area around the town hall and the southern part down by the depot. And they felt they had to have a bank too, so there was briefly a bank in the Gordon Hardware upstairs. Well, there was a safe in there we couldn't get open. So we thought, this is the safe from that bank. Both banks went out of business in the Depression, early part of the Depression. So I hired a safe cracker, and he came out, and the first one wanted an exorbitant amount of money, was going to tear it all apart. The second guy really knew what he was doing. He opened it up, and I'm anticipating, bear bonds and Confederate gold. You know. Well, what was in there was one little book. It was an entry from the Greensboro National Bank way back in the 80s for the Standard Theater Company, which was a theater supply company in town that went bankrupt. And it's a strange book because it's entries of tens of thousands of dollars, anywhere from $700 to $35,000. It's just entries. So, big mystery. So, Mark Brown has taken a look at that, see if we can find out what was going on. That was the only thing that was in the safe. The guy that opened the safe, he'd done it a long time, and he said one time, somebody bought a safe at auction and opened it up, and there was millions of dollars in there, Confederate money. And all the way to $100,000 bills. So you get some idea of the inflation that there was in the Confederacy. Well, we didn't find $1 million. We found one bank entry book. But we got it open. We've got the combination now, and it's a serviceable safe. The safe dates from probably early 20s, 1920s, 1930s. It's an old safe. Our next meeting, we've been doing a lot of our interpretation depends on the old road network, and we really are not confident that we know what the old road network here was. My paper on the Bugle Boy incident, a lot of the interpretation there depended on the roads, and I really would like to, there's some key bits of information if I could get them to make things a lot clearer. And there's a lot of other issues that would help if we knew what the roads were. Well, the other day I was looking at some of Kate Hoskins' material, and she talked about the Revolutionary Road. And we had heard about this before. And she said that it started at her home, which is now, I don't know the address, of the name of the folks that are in there now. I've lost the name. Vandergrift, thank you. Yeah, the Vandergrift's home. That's the Kate Hoskin home, and actually before it burned down was the second home after their farm home across the road. And her father always insisted that that was the site of the Charles Bruce home starting in 1769. We think that's right. I think that's true. But anyhow, she described this road as running from Bruce's, so where the Vandergrifts are, across to, of course there was no 220 then, and across to the brick schoolhouse, and the brick schoolhouse dated back to 1830. We've done a report on that, back to 1838. And it was located in the parking lot of the old Lutheran church, which I think now is a Korean church across the way there. And then it went up and ended up at the Peace Church, the old Peace Church, which is now the Summer Oak Church. Well, darned if when we did the GPR study of the cemetery a few years back, we found a road that duplicated that road, a section of that road. So now, Mark Brown and some others, we've gotten interested in maybe Bruce's Crossroads. We think maybe Bruce's Crossroads wasn't where we thought it was, which was at the intersection of Summerfield Road and 150. We're going to have at our meeting, we're going to put up on the wall, on the screen, the 1937 aerial photographs of the area, which was before the reservoirs and before 220. And we're going to try to interpret roads in terms of that, and we've invited some of the old timers in the town to come and help us. And anybody that would like to join us, the more the merrier. We'd love to have you, because I think it's going to be a really interesting discussion. I've got a session scheduled with the Moravian folks over at Winston-Salem next Tuesday, and they're going to show me some of their old maps and see what I can learn from those maps. So that's our current thing right now. We've got a number of things kind of working, but not on the forefront right now. So that's it. Any questions, comments?
I have a comment I just found out today. It will be 100 years for the Summerfield School this coming fall, because I think they started in 24.
I think that's right.
And so the PTA is wanting to do a big ta-da come at like the beginning of the school year next year. So I was actually digging through, I found a picture of your 19, did you say 38?
We've got some pictures.
1838
There were some yearbooks, I think, in the
Yes.
Gordon Hardware.
Yes, and there's some still at Summerfield, so
Yeah.
you two need to connect.
Okay. Who do I connect with?
I'll get it for you.
Okay. You'll
Yes.
connect with me. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
But that's
is
exciting
great.
that it's 100 years old.
We were just talking about it. There was a high school. There were a lot of schools, of course. A lot of them went back to the old Henry father or grandfather. But there was a high school across Summerfield Road on the north side from the town hall. And it was a high school that was there, I think for about 20 years maybe. And it was run as a tuition. And so the local folks pay the tuition. We've got evidence of this from Kate Hoskins' materials down at the Greensboro Museum. And it was nominal. But also people from outside of Summerfield could come and stay. And they would come and pay the higher tuition, about double. And a lot of those folks would stay with the locals. So they would stay during the week, bed and board with the locals during the week, and then go home to the farms on the weekends. That school lasted until, I think, about 1923.
Okay.
And then the high school moved up to where it is now. Yeah. And of course, it was a high school for a long time, and it became an elementary school when they built Northwest built it. Yeah, the schools, there've been a lot of schools here. If you look back at the early colonials, when they came into an area, they built two things. They built a church, and they built a school. And it's impressive, it really is. Okay, we'll work on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you now.
Does anybody want to trail us anything else? Okay. Ms. Hall, did you want to talk about the financial report?
Not unless anybody has any questions.
I had a question. I was just going to say it, and I know that you replied to me, but just so everybody, I had asked, can we identify a 3 to 5 year trend where there might be certain line items that have a surplus, and we could lower those line items, and then to some of our other line items that we may continue to get overages, move that money there so that we're kind of shifting things to where it's more needed, and that we don't have to take funds out of the fund balance. I know Ms. Hall has said in the past that at the end of each year she tries to manipulate and move things around if need be, but I didn't know if that was considered, like actually looking at a trend. Has there been a trend in certain areas?
When I do the budget every year, I only put what I think we'll use for this year, and we don't take any money out of fund balance until the whole year is over. So what I try to explain every year during the budget is that we would only take any money out of fund balance if we overspent the budget, which we have not, overspent anything. And so that on the budget amendment is just saying, if we spend 100% of the budget, then I will need to take this much out of the fund balance. And because of where we are right now with projects where we really haven't, gotten as far as we had hoped to with the AMI Greenway and with Bandera and with, mainly with those two things, I don't think we won't need to take any of that budget amendment out of the fund balance. But if I put it like that, that's saying, what if we did jumpstart with things on Bandera, and what if we did jumpstart on things on the AMI Greenway? I didn't want to take things out of that budget in case we did.
Right.
But at the end of the year, is whenever it all shakes out and balances out. I don't move any money from the fund balance during the year till I see how much we need at the end of the year.
Okay.
And I guess I would just ask, from last meeting to this meeting, is there anything notable in the financial report that you should draw our attention to, or everything about the...
No, yeah, the biggest thing is the estimate we got from Bandera, which I'm still fanning myself over. So we'll talk about that whenever we get to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Thanks. All right. We'll go on to number 8, so we'll have public comments. I have 2. Oh, and there's another one.
You pass it over.
So, can I don't have the motion to open the public comments. Okay, so I just, thank you. I want to open public comments, and Ms. Perryman, you're up first. And
Hi,
you'll
Teresa
just,
Perryman, 7401 Green Lawn Drive, Summerfield. There's still, I want to say now that there's a new council, we got new attorney, that y'all would definitely look back at the public book and follow the rules of that book. We need to run a genuine legal government council here, and I'd like for y'all to start following those rules. Number 2 is, again, I want to talk about the trail. Again, there's only one person on that whole trail that wants it. I wish y'all would just shut it down. It's not an expense that this town needs. It's not an expense that not much people in this town want. You're taking away yards, and in some cases, you may end up having to take eminent domain. And I remember way back, when the council first started this, they said they would not take eminent domain. That's looking like the situation you might have to. And number 2, the water. Y'all know how I feel about the water. The water is ridiculous. Who's it serving? We have 2 contracts. One by the Gifford County Commissioners that's saying, hey, they're going to take care of our water. The second contract is by the Summerfield Fire District that says they will take care of our fire. Don't know why you're going to charge me a 3rd tax for this. And as per se, what I mean by 3rd tax is it's coming out of my tax dollars that I put into Summerfield. And it's no use in it. We have 2 valid contracts. They were good as the day they signed them. Thank you.
okay. Ms. Maria Adams.
Good evening. I'm Maria Adams, 5999 Morganshire Drive, Summerfield. Thank you for the opportunity to address the council tonight. I just wanted to share a couple good pieces of news with you. First of all, just want to say that I'm here in my role as the Moms for Liberty Guilford Chapter Chair. And being in that role, I also serve on the North Carolina legislative team for Moms for Liberty. And because of that, I interact with legislators across the state. So I wanted to share some good news about what I've been hearing from legislators about the potential of Summerfield being, that property being de-annexed from Summerfield. First of all, Representative Brian Biggs out of Randolph County came to our meeting in November, I believe it was. And he was there actually to do like an educational session on the legislative process. Well, he brought this up. We didn't even bring it up because in Moms for Liberty we don't necessarily talk about specifically Summerfield. But he brought up the fact that how important it is for citizens to be involved and to email or to call legislators whenever you have a success or concern or a question or anything like that. And the one thing that Representative Biggs shared with us is that he received more calls in his office about the Summerfield de-annexation than he did about any other legislative piece during the long session. So that really is amazing that our town is, the citizens of our town are communicating with our legislators. He said it's really important that they receive these messages because they really do take it in consideration. They may not always respond to every email, but they certainly take it into consideration. So the most recent conversation I had with a legislator from an adjacent county shared this story with me, and I thought I'd share it with you, but I'm not going to reveal any names. But this legislator told me that he spoke with the mayor in an adjacent county, and that mayor had received some correspondence from Summerfield Town Council. And that mayor reached out to his legislator and asked, is this something I should support, meaning opposing the de-annexation? So that legislator said, yes, you should support Summerfield and oppose the de-annexation. So I just wanted to let you know that our voices are being heard from the citizens as well as from the council, and we really appreciate everything you're doing.
Great, thank you. Right, Mr. Joanne Crawford?
Sorry about the shoes.
Mr. Crawford, I don't know if we have time for a full lesson here.
Dwayne Crawford, 1106 NC Highway 150 West. I happen to be a resident of the Summerfield Rural Fire Protection District, the district that Teresa was talking about. I pay 2 taxes for fire protection. You are all aware of the circulation being sent out by the attorney for David Couch, talking about how Summerfield has suffered deaths. He did not say municipal, but he said Summerfield has suffered deaths. So I assume he means the rural fire protection has suffered deaths. So this fire protection district is a creation of the of the Guilford County Commissioners. Went down there and told them about it, told them they have a problem out here because we have a developer and his attorney that's circulating propaganda saying there's a problem and deaths are occurring because of an inadequacy. I want you guys to do that. Pivoting off of what the lady just spoke, we need to, and I know there's already things in motion, we need to rally the troops. We got an army here and just get some of them moving. I've got some reasons that we might want to tell our legislatures and maybe even some other town mayors and council members why they should oppose this. 3 reasons I came up with. The misleading, demagoguing propaganda by a town resident that's also a developer that's always said he's a friend and he has our best interest in heart, but yet he's circulating this misinformation. That's number 1. The developer knew precisely what he was buying into, the zoning conditions, when this property was purchased. The zoning already existed. So he's wanting to change the rules to suit a certain need. 3rd reason, hidden agendas, different motives. October 2013, there was a rezoning. Go to our town minutes, you can read it in the town minutes. It says in the town minutes, David Couch said the population exceeds 10,000 within a roughly 25 square mile area, and he wants to provide retail, noting that existing and future low-density development creates difficulties in marketing the properties and leases. What is he asking for? High density. What did he say was a problem back in October 2013? Low density. There's a hidden agenda here. It's financial. I got 53 seconds. Something to think about. I went and pulled down OSMB. I don't have a copy for everybody, so I'm going to give one to the mayor, one to the get your title, sorry. Clerk, yes. What I did, I pulled down all the, there's 551 municipalities in North Carolina, and the developers circulate propaganda how we're one of the biggest municipalities. Well, on one hand, he's right. We have a relatively large population density, but he doesn't talk about how we developed to be a small town with limited services and low density. What I've given you here is showing the rankings of all the municipalities, all the cities in North Carolina by population density using North Carolina's OSMB population density estimates. And we rank in the bottom 3rd. And I give phone numbers for all these municipalities. Somebody ought to call 10. Everybody in this room ought to call 10 of those municipalities and leave a message.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Okay, number 8, do we have any comments?
There was one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have it.
Mr. Logan.
That's fine, Mr. Logan.
Logan.
Thank you.
Thank
you for what y'all do.
We fill one out for you.
I was late, I thought if I left it over there that y'all picked it up. But
Sorry.
obviously, things are not done the same in every municipality, and I have several within my district. And thank you for what y'all are doing. Y'all do have a fight on your hands, and as a school board member, I understand the fight on your hands. A couple things I wanted to bring out to you. April 10th, tomorrow, is kindergarten kickoff day at Summerfield Elementary between 2:30 and 5 p.m. The importance of that is that will determine the kindergarten teachers at that school.
I'm sorry, can you introduce yourself and state your address?
Michael Logan, 5202 Rambling Road. And unfortunately, that is Greensboro. Actually, Guilford County, it's not Greensboro. And in the registration for kindergarten, that will determine the number of teachers at that school. One of the biggest complaints we had at the beginning of this school year was the allotment of teachers
If we have students signed up, we have teachers at that school. And if the students do not show up, then we have to either shift or move teachers, and that disrupts students' lives because classes have already started. We have to break up classes or combine classes. It affects students and teachers, so it is important to get that done. And that's also with all grade levels. If someone in the community is considering of pulling their student out of their school, or considering of putting their student back into the school public system next year, reach out to the schools, let them know your intentions, so we can go ahead and get student allotments up. Can register online, and that is off the gcsnc.com website. You can get into it on School Mint. That's another access point. A couple of meetings coming up. One is the October 16th regular board meeting. Please come to the school board meetings. I implore every municipality to come to the meetings. October 17th, we are having a work session. I do not believe that will really pertain to anything, but if you would like to come and see how we handle student suspensions, then please come out. April 24th, this is the important meeting. This is the joint capital and facilities meeting. This is a meeting with 4 school board members and 4 county commissioners, and this is spending the $2 billion bond. So that is the most important, because we need to get some of that money out in this area. It does not allow you for public speaking, but it does allow you to observe and see what is going on. Thank you, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Council, Mr. Attorney, do you have any comments on anything that's been said this evening?
No, thanks everyone for talking. I'm glad to hear everybody's opinion, what they have to say.
And glad to hear that our voice is being heard in Raleigh. I just encourage everybody to keep calling, keep emailing. I've been personally told, fill up those inboxes. Okay. So now we'll move on to business from mayor and council. And we will start with the potential de-annexation. That's me. So what I wanted to do was to be able to give everybody an update on what's happening with the PR campaign. We are making progress. For 2 weeks, I thought we were not. It has come down, and Mr. Hoffman has been a great help. Mailers have gone out to small towns across North Carolina. We have mailers going out to citizens in Gilbert County, and we have mailers going out to the General Assembly. By the end of this week, I will also have a printed binder that is going to be hand-delivered to the General Assembly. I'm going to take a day and go, and then our lobbyist, Sebastian King, is going to go as well. And we're going to get those out before April 24th. We are looking, Mr. King, our lobbyist, was looking into getting like bus transportation. Haven't gotten anything on that yet, but I'm hearing still go on the 24th and possibly the 25th. So we do need citizens to travel to Raleigh. And what I was told last session is you knock on those doors in the morning, you get in their faces in the morning, and in the afternoon when they go to vote, you're sitting in the balcony. And that's how they defeated the casinos last time. So that's what we need to do to defeat de-annexation. The next thing is we are almost done with the YouTube video. It did have to go back for revisions. I got a phone call from the videographer at about 5:30 today. He's been working on it, and he will have that ready to roll by the end of the week. They work this weekend, so they're not taking weekends off, but we've had to do some edits, but it's going to be good. He says it's really good. Let's see. That's it. I've heard there is a citizen petition out. You go to change.org Saving Summerfield, and you can sign that petition to defeat, stop de-annexation, stop House Bill 5. So again, change.org and look up Saving Summerfield. So please do that. Send it to people all over the state. And then one last comment on that is just citizens of Summerfield, you are our best defense. You are the town's best defense. Keep the phone calls going, keep the emails going, contact your friends across the state. Tell them to send an email and tell them to sign it. Surrey County, whatever, Chatham County, whatever county they live in, they need to hear that it's not just Guilford, it's not just Summerfield. People across the state do not want this precedent to be set. So stop House Bill 5. And that's all I have. Yes, sir.
On the petition, I noticed it's on a couple Facebook pages that we're supporting it, or it's from the council. Is it from the council or is it from a public citizen? The reason I ask is if it's from the council, then every name on that list is public record. And then how we deliver
I was
it
told
to
it
them.
was from the citizens.
It's from the citizen.
Well, I agree, but I'm just
So-
saying there is some Facebook pages that are saying it's council.
Okay, well, I
We-
haven't seen that.
No, I'm just
How
asking
do
the
we
question.
change that? Or
Well, we can't really control it.
No, we can't, but I just wanted it known that it,
No, you-
yes, sir.
that
No.
it was.
Great. Thanks for bringing that up.
And I'll say some citizens have given us some great ideas and direction, and I appreciate every bit of it. So every time I speak with one of you, I see several folks here who have told me some things to do and the great ideas. It's hard to do them all, but trying our best to make as much headway as we can. Of course, now we also have Attorney Hoffman here with us as well, and we brought him on board, and we're discussing some other good faith efforts that we can pursue to resolve this issue outside of the General Assembly. And we're just going to try everything we can, and at the same time, we're talking to representatives. We've met with a lot of folks. We're calling mayors, different towns, and just getting real. Couldn't get better, honestly, feedback from them. And quite a few of them actually share our same concerns. And as I've been talking to some of these other places, one of them I spoke to the other day literally said that their town was concerned because they had a similar issue, and that they had just started looking into contacting other municipalities to try to get a coalition of towns and cities together. And so it was interesting to hear somebody else had something similar going on. So, I think the people are the best weapon we have. So that's all I've got.
Okay.
Are we able to put that petition on any of our social media?
But then it would be,
If you do it.
then it would be us supporting it. I mean, that would be from us, and then all those names become public knowledge, public record. We just don't want that to happen.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Item B, the AMY Greenway. So, I'll just start with the AMY Greenway. It has come to our attention that for the additional engineering, it's going to cost another $146,095.47. And this is looking at putting the greenway from the trailhead up to Auburn Road. Or did I get that correct? I drew a map out here. So from the trailhead, yes, up to Auburn Road. And so we're kind of at a point where what are we supposed to do? One of my questions was, when does the 80-20 payback start?
DOT will let us know whenever we can start turning it in for reimbursement. And they are telling us also that if we put this amendment in, and they're going to look at the feasibility of coming up Summerfield Road, but that will provide significant cost savings for the construction of the actual trail, because you know, it's already laid out, it's already graded, it's not coming through any watersheds or anything like that. So even though this is gonna cost an additional amount to the contract, it should save a significant amount in the construction. Because it's point A to point B instead of going way out and going around too.
I had a lot to talk about with this, but I did not know that Scott wasn't going to be here, and the projector wasn't going to be here, and the computer wasn't going to be set up. I had 4 maps ready to show you guys and talk about, but I don't have a way to show you now. So I wanted to tell you guys and make sure everyone knows about that there are 3 greenways that are going to come through Summerfield. There's the A and Y, the Piedmont, and the Mountains to Sea. And I was going to show you on the maps how they all come in one area, go out, the Piedmont and the Mountains to Sea come in through the tunnel in Summerfield and go out to Oak Ridge. And if we keep the greenway, the A and Y, the way it was coming in the back way, it could connect to those. So it would no longer just stop at the community center. It would connect to the Piedmont Greenway, which goes to Winston, and it would connect to the Mountains to Sea, which goes Mountains to Sea. So I can't show you that. I would like to wait on this before we continue on and approve another $146,000. I would like to show you guys the maps of why I think we should stick with the way it was originally. And I would like to go back to the Trails and Open Space Committee and propose that we stick to the original plan and connect the A and Y to the Piedmont Greenway, not Parkway, right?
Yes.
We'll figure that out. And the Mountains to Sea. So I'd like to wait on this motion so we can look at maps and talk to the committee.
Is there anyone here that's on that committee? Any council member that's on that committee? No.
We don't have any council members on that committee.
No, not council members.
Actually, I was talking about council.
Oh.
So the reason why I
I've
asked,
attended the last 2 Trails and Open Space Committee.
I was saying, well, Janelle, you should go to the next one then and talk about this.
I was planning on that. And I really think that it would be important to show you guys the maps and where it could meet up, and then it wouldn't go down Summerfield Road where so many of the citizens don't want it to take up half of their front yard. And I just think it's unnecessary. So I'd like to hold off another month before we approve another $146,000.
And Dee, I know you might not know this, because Scott, I think, is the one that usually addresses it, but I want to say at the last meeting, I think he said something about, or maybe Brad, you know too, that this had to be done in a certain time frame. And so I think it was a certain number of years. Is that what it was?
The 7-year.
Like a 7-year plan? Would that put us back terribly if we let her go to the next meeting and discuss it with them to not approve? I mean, how far?
That is our concern, is that, you know, this grant is tied to a timeline that we're not in control of. It's DOT timeline. And I do know that they are concerned about getting they're concerned, Killing Horn is concerned about getting further behind on it.
And do we know how much time is left, like ticking?
Well, we are, I don't have the schedule.
And I'm not trying to depress you on it, I
We
mean,
have the schedule.
If I'm right, they've already done the preliminary work for the way, if we change it back to the original, the preliminary work's done. So, I mean, some of the work's already done. So, I mean, I'd hate to kick it down another month, but I mean, at least some of the work's already.
For the way that, way around.
I mean, it's already
they
been
have-
done.
If we stick with that long way around, I think when the mayor and the manager met with David Couch, he was still on board with having it come on his property. If we continue that way, on his property, on the map, it shows the Piedmont Greenway coming through there. It also shows the Mountains to Sea Trail, which right now is all on roads through Summerfield. But the goal of the Mountains to Sea is to get it on trails, and this would get it on trails. And then it would all be connected in our town. And even on Mr. Couch's property, he has it going, a trail going to the community, here to the park. So it would still end up at the park, it would just all be connected, and it wouldn't have to go through people's property on Summerfield Road. So my ask is that we wait a month for this, and let me go talk to the trails again, and show you guys the maps of why I think we should.
Brad, could you make sure that we have a projector next time too? Sure. I appreciate that, sir.
The Trails and Open Space Committee who this council has elected to be on that committee, has already unanimously voted that this is the best course of action, is the route going up Summerfield Road. Last month, this project going up Summerfield Road was approved to go back to Kimberly Horn to gather the cost for additional design, engineering, and survey costs, as well as permitting. So this ask of us is to see if this is feasible to go up Summerfield Road. Not that this is the decision fully to go up Summerfield Road, but can it be done? So our last meeting again was to ask to put this on, to see if it's even feasible. So this is the next step. The Mountain Sea Trail from the Trails and Open Space Committee does follow this. You mentioned going up a developer's property that was in discussion. I have seen nothing in writing to support that, which has the potential of not being in Summerfield. I am in favor of moving forward with this, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
I was gonna say that too. This isn't saying that we know this can work. This is about whether they're gonna figure out whether or not it's feasible.
But it's X amount of dollars to figure out if it's feasible.
It's in the 80-20, that's correct.
Yeah, and I'm okay waiting. I mean, if Janelle's got some reservations and she can check into them and report back next time, I think that's a great thing. You think you can go to the next meeting?
I know, I don't know if I can, I don't know the date, but I do think it is very important for you guys to see these maps and see why, besides the fact that we don't have to go through people's front yards that don't want it there.
It still goes up Summerfield Road.
Correct.
No,
It comes out at Alco and it goes up Summerfield Road.
no, it would turn at the tunnel and go that way, go the other way and through the watershed.
I've been working on it for 15 years.
And then it goes onto
I
David's
know
property,
that
and
it's
instead of coming out to Summerfield Road, it would just stay on Mr. Couch's property where he has trails going to the community
No,
center.
it would not.
Where's it?
Well, if we could show you the map, I could show you that it does. But we can't show you maps tonight, so I'm asking that we wait.
Okay, I am going to, do you want to make a motion to that?
I make a motion that we wait to proceed on this. I'd like to be able to show you guys the maps. I'd like to talk to Trails and Open Space. And I don't want to spend right now with everything going on in the community, another $146,000. So I make a motion that we wait another month on this.
Okay, I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I will call for a vote. Discussion, sorry, first.
The only reason that I would like to wait is for the money. I mean, we have spent a lot of money, so
That's one of the things too.
that's the only reason that I would vote for this.
Because I think I read, didn't it say that even though it's going to be more money right now, it might be less in the long run? Is that what it was?
That's what Dee was saying.
But maybe I can find some more out about it before we.
It's because of, you're talking about construction of a trail going through woods, and it's kind of marshy through there, and everything's already laid out. And also the safety factor, I think the Trails and Open Space Committee are worried about people that walk up and down Summerfield Road and ride bikes up and down Summerfield Road. I mean, it's your decision. I'm just trying to convey what the Trails and Open Space Committee has said.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not against the project. I'm just not for it right this second. If we have more questions about it, so I'd like for us to be able to look into those. So yeah.
Any more discussion? Okay, I'd like to call a vote, please.
All right.
All in favor? All in favor? Okay, all opposed?
Aye.
So it's a 3-2, Ms. Tibbetts?
3-1.
A 3-1. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you still vote.
No, I don't.
Oh, just-
Only vote in a tie.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I thought the mayor pro tem still voted. Is that
I
not
can't.
right?
I can't. So it's 3-1. Okay. All right, item C, the Bandera Farms.
Do you want me to start, or you?
Sure, that would be great.
Just to kind of give a background about Bandera, just so the public is reminded. Whenever, and I would like to bring up Kevin from Piedmont Land Conservancy to talk about this, because he's so much more knowledgeable about it than me. But so, well, maybe he should start first. But so whenever when PLC came to us with the master plan and thought about Bandera Farms, they had secured this 100 acres for to have a destination playground and an equestrian park that nobody else in the whole state was going to have. And they brought in us because it was going to be, in our jurisdiction, and also Oak Ridge and the city of Greensboro and Guilford County. And the city of Greensboro was very interested because it protects their watershed that's there in Guilford County, because they wanted it to stay open space as well. The Mountains to Sea Trail was going to come through there. So they brought the original cost estimates to us whenever they did the master plan. And so all this time we've been waiting. We secured Pond Incorporated to be able to do our cost estimate and our. So we got that this week, and it was significantly higher than what we thought it was going to be. And also the Piedmont Land Conservancy was surprised by that. And we have secured almost $3.5 million in grants, but at the 15% stage, they came out, they walked, walked all over the whole Bandera Farms, and just boots on the ground, the lay of the area, so they could figure out, what they thought the cost estimate would be. And it came up to $6.6 million, and I fainted. And so we immediatally said, hey, can you maybe explain why did this happen? And it's in your packets, but we turned this over to Piedmont Land Conservancy as well. And I'll just read this to you. This is from Pond, and it's specifically from Juan Morales, who is our senior project manager that walked around. Brad was with Jeff and Cheryl and Scott walking around, so he can probably speak to more about y'all walking around in the mud out there that day in the pouring rain. But he said, Mr. Whitaker and Ms. Gore, as requested, Pond prepared the following summary to support the town's review process of the opinion of probable cost, dated March 25th. The opinion of probable cost is broken down into two major groups. One, site preparation and infrastructure, includes all the paving, utilities, landscaping, and drainage needed to implement the trailheads, asphalt driveways, the Piedmont Greenway, it's 12-foot wide with 2-foot shoulders, gravel path, and the equestrian trail, which is a 4-foot wide path. And two, structures and amenities, which includes the comfort station and the equestrian trailhead buildings, as well as the playground and associated furniture. It says a higher contingency of 25% has been applied to the first group, since the preliminary design of those items was based on a LIDAR surface, I'm saying that right, topographic elevation information obtained from state imagery projects. So in other words, they were looking at a high level of that, and more uncertainty is expected. However, our team is currently working on adjusting the conceptual design using the field survey data that they received with Brad, Cheryl, and Scott and Jeff. And the contingency should be lowered at our next submittal. A 10% contingency has been applied to structures and amenities group. During our review of project planning documents, we noticed significant differences between the latest planning level cost estimates and our conceptual OPCC. While the current plan includes some minor upgrades, we believe the discrepancies are more due to the omission of some items like erosion control, issues with quantities, and the dramatic changes in material costs, material unit costs observed since the preparation of the latest planning cost estimate. So the main two things that they listed below were parking and access roads. The planning cost estimate was $350,000, and their current estimate is $1,071,000. And he said this cost is likely affected by the increase in unit costs for asphalt, concrete, aggregate, and workmanship, the workforce labor. And the second biggest item is the hiking trail. The Piedmont Greenway is natural surface, and then the Greenway connector between the parking areas. The original estimate was $205,000, and their estimate is $884,000. And he said it's because of the underestimate of grading and earthwork quantities that may have affected the Greenway items. And I think one of the things that Cheryl had said to me is that when y'all got out there and got boots on the ground, the grade, you know, you've seen from Bunch Road looking down into Bandera, it's really deep. And I think y'all didn't realize how.
Right, so the grade for the parking lot in particular is a lot steeper, I guess, than we anticipated. But speaking to what you was talking about in the second paragraph there, as Juan was going through and walking the projected trails, we also had a representative from the Horse Council there.
Horse Council.
They worked together in tandem following this map and saying, well, you know what, this proposed trail here doesn't look so good. We can go here up the elevation a little bit and be a lot smoother, a lot easier to do, a lot easier to grade. So it was really helpful actually, like we said, put boots on the ground and see what the actual lay of the land is. I mean, these surveys are going to tell you so much until you walk out there and see. So I do think Juan is right that there's probably some lowering coming with these adjustments that they're making in the field because the survey can only tell you so much. There's actually even an old roadbed there. So Bruce Peterson's talk earlier really made me think of that. There is an old roadbed on Bandera, and they were talking maybe this could help us save costs too. Because even today, it hasn't been used for decades probably, and even today it's graded. Not many trees to cut down or anything there, so there's potential here.
So whenever we picked upon, let me back up a little bit, we narrowed down the RFQ to 3 good candidates. One was Destination by Design, who was working in tandem with Kimley Horn. One was McAdams, and then one was Pond, and their estimates all came about the same price. And so because Pond was more knowledgeable and experienced with equestrian trails, and so that is why, you know, we decided to go with Pond. But I would like to turn it over to Piedmont Land Conservancy so they can, you know, say what they think to help.
Okay.
Please.
Good evening. Hello. Could I get a copy of that, by any chance? I've not seen the numbers.
I sent them to Palmer.
Okay. Obviously, I haven't studied these. I just learned about this, I think, on Friday afternoon, and spent Saturday and Sunday thinking about it. They are higher than we thought. We did reach out to the state Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, which has committed $500,000 to this project, and just kind of asked their experience, and it is across the state that construction prices are a lot higher than they were 2 or 3 years ago when we were envisioning this. I still think they're higher than what I would think. So I guess at this point, really my request would be to have a chance to really dive into this and see. And we have multiple grant sources, so there might be some tweaks we can make. There might be some that if we make this tweak, then we could potentially lose this $500,000 grant, so we don't want to do that. But I would like to study on this, and whether it's a council member or staff, we're going to have someone from the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund hopefully come to town in the next month or so and kind of look through this and give us some guidance and try to figure out a way that can make it more palatable, because we all want that park. We want the Piedmont Greenway, we want the equestrian trails for the community, and we just need to find a way to do it within the parameters that y'all can live with. So any questions for us?
Well, I did ask Palmer, and I don't know if she discussed it with you. I said, you know, I want to talk about how we can get more grant funding. And I've been researching that a lot, but Palmer said she didn't know of any more that we can get right now, but, she, said she'll be thinking on that. I had, just want to remind everybody the grants that we do have now is $2.3 million from Guilford County ARPA funds. We have $50,000 from North Carolina Horse Council, $500,000 from PARTO, $500,000 from LWCF, which is the Land and Water Conservation Fund, $100,000 from the Recreation Trails Program, and $38,500 from Oak Ridge Community Center, which is their, of course, community thing that they have. And so I've also reached out to Michael Halford, who is the Guilford County manager, to talk to him because he did, invite the mayors to come out and talk about what other needs they have. And he's out of town for the rest of the week, so he's supposed to call me back next week. So we can talk about more from that. And I wanted to get I'm just drawing a blank on the lobbyist, Sebastian King. Because he's supposed to be looking for grants, and so if he could talk to anybody about grants for that, and like Kevin said, we will do whatever we can to value engineer it down, as long as it doesn't affect any of the grants that we would lose. So the grants are specifically tied to the horse count. If we take away anything about the equestrian trails, then we'll lose the horse council and the recreational trails and the Oak Ridge Community Center. And then if we do anything at all, probably with LWCF and PARTO. If we value engineer it too far, we could lose both of those as well. So it's a lot of work, but like I said, I don't want to lose a part, but
And I would add to her list, we took about $125,000 haircut buying the house next door and selling it to the town.
yes.
So it's not some little fancy interest of ours. We're committed to seeing this project through, and we've got money in it. I think there is potential to raise more grant money. I don't think there's 3.5 or whatever number of millions of dollars of grant money out there. But I do think there's some solution that we can potentially raise more money and we can get the cost significantly lower and still deliver to our donors and to Oak Ridge and the Guilford County and City of Greensboro and Town of Summerfield the vision that they thought they were getting back in 2000 when we started this.
In addition to the $125,000 haircut PLC gave, I would like to remind y'all about who has already put money into this. PLC also paid for the master plan. They gave us the original cost estimate. They had about $35,800 into it before it even came to us. And when it came to us, Guilford County put in $165,000. This is all to PLC. They didn't give the money to us, but Guilford County put in $165,000. The City of Greensboro put in $165,000. Summerfield contributed $82,500 because it's in our jurisdiction, and Oak Ridge, it's not even in their town limits, contributed $41,250. So there are a lot of stakeholders here, and I hope we can continue to find a way to make it work.
So I have a question. So what a next step, maybe a next best step is knowing what you have to keep so you don't lose the existing grants. Should we go back to a design phase to see, can you keep that horse trail but move it up to where there would be less grading? And so are y'all doing that now? Are you?
It's not them.
They're done with
their part.
Well, would
that would
be the
depend
next?
on the conversation y'all
That's
had while
right.
you were walking it.
Yes.
Would that be the next step? Is that what they're going to do, or whomever does it?
So they are still looking at where the trails should actually go and see where that price might fluctuate, and that's what I think Juan is speaking to in that second
Yes.
paragraph. So on the agenda sheet, you see that there's no specific action tonight. This is just really an update council, and this is the current number that we got back.
Right. So I want to know how we're going to move that number.
I think that's...
We're talking to them about it. And
Right. I think that's what we're waiting on Pond to do, because they have a cost estimator that does it for them. They
Yes.
send, this is what we're planning, cost estimator, what does this cost estimate
Okay.
look like? So they're looking at that now.
So besides the cost estimate with Pond, things like the comfort center or things that we can take out, who's going to look at which things like that we can take out and keep the grants?
Well, that's what we're talking about. We're going to have to talk to them about what we can take out, and then we'll go back to the grant people. I have, a person that I've been working with Palmer, like at part of that is, that I can go, that I have a good relationship with. I can send back and say, if we take this out, will that affect our grant? That's my plan, is to try to figure out what can we take out that won't affect the grant and we can't change the scope of this project. And especially whenever you talk about bringing horses in. Like they have to have, paid, we can't just have them come in and park horse trailers. There's really specific things that they're looking for, and like I've said many times now that Ronald Reagan is dead, I'm the biggest fiscal conservative in this country, so I'm going to try. But one did tell us that he didn't know how much we could. He would try, but he did not know how much we could value engineer down.
So are there other ways that we can be creative, like getting, asking the finance committee, it was asked last time or time before last, about looking at the parties that have contributed a lot for it not being in their municipality, but they will have residents, citizens using that to fund like a ridge shelter, the picnic shelter, have a town name it maybe, or is there a family, is there any type of ways that we could raise money for a particular thing? Are there any type of equestrian? The Oak Ridge Horse Show is around. There's got to be a connection there. That
I will say personally, I live in Oak Ridge, but they have a different council now too that seems to be a little bit more upset about spending money on parks. We can ask, but I think our better path is Guilford County.
Okay.
And for Sebastian to try to find any areas that we can do.
I think that's a great idea, and I'll tell him to reach out to you too, if that's okay. That way maybe you guys can communicate a little bit about that. Unless you've already spoken to him.
No, I have not.
I'll put him in touch with you.
And also, to try to get some connections with any equestrian groups in the state that might be interested. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think Palmer feels pretty tapped out, and I cannot stress hard enough about how hard Piedmont Land Conservancy has worked on this project, and I know that they want to help, but they may have helped us as much as they can. And I really, really appreciate you coming out tonight to answer any questions, because
But you did say you wanted to think on it for a month, right?
Yeah.
You were going to look into it and maybe you'll come up with some ideas?
I would love to be part of the team that's doing that.
Okay, we have another person.
Who estimated the cost originally? And was there, like you said, boots on the ground at that time to come up with that figure?
For the 3 point whatever
Yes.
number? What, was it Destinations by Design?
I think it was Destination by Design. I wasn't, okay. From what I understand, when the master plan, oh, it is, it's right here, it says it. Yes, it's Destination by Design. And they did give us an estimate and quote. They did give us a proposal to start with. And we, like I said, we chose Pond because they had more experience with equestrian trails.
You said Destination by Design. How many quotes or estimates did we get originally from beginning to now?
Well, that was just the estimate to give an estimate. So we had three companies that were going to give us architectural design from there. But we gave them this master plan that PLC provided us, and we said, give us a quote on giving us a quote on doing the architectural design. So this is the first actual numbers that we've gotten. And we had three, like I said, we had three companies to put in bids.
Are we able to go in a different direction with a different company to reduce the cost?
I don't know if that even be.
I don't know what the contract with Pond says, but I don't know why not.
Well, we already have a contract signed with Pond, and we've already, we've already.
The contract for 6.6 million?
No, that's just for the architectural plans. That's not for the, they're not, they have given us this quote for what they think that it will, this is the design stage.
I would encourage us to look elsewhere and have our legal counsel to see if it's something that we're able to do if we cannot get away from a double the cost of this project. Especially knowing that the one that you originally had came lower to begin with.
I guess to play off of Heath's question, does the contract that we have in place, does it have us on the hook to continue the project all the way through, or is it just for a certain portion?
I have to go back and look at the contract.
Because I suppose if you start it and it doubles from 3 to 6 million, I mean, that would be something to contemplate.
Well, right, and they're not the construction companies, this is the design phase.
So, okay.
Again, I would use that as another tool in your toolbox to see if it's plausible.
So, to understand the process, did someone design what the park is going to look like, and then someone said 3.5, and now someone says 6.5? Like who?
Well, that was a cost estimate, which is what I tried to say the whole time that we've been talking about this. That, and y'all all have one of these, this is the master plan that PLC.
Yeah, I remember that. I know,
Yeah.
right.
And so this was their original, cost estimate. That's a high level. They even said whenever we get into the weeds about this, when we get boots on the ground, then we'll have a better cost estimate.
And that's destination by design that you're talking about?
Right. The date on this is April 2021, so this is 3 years old.
Can we
Right.
get Councilmember Clay and Councilmember Hamilton one of those so they can see it? Because I don't think they have that.
It is also on our website.
It's on the website.
I think we have a few printed copies.
I think I have a couple more.
So everything is in the design stage. Nothing's actually been done so far as Okay.
I just want to point out that Councilman Robinson has been kind of concerned about this for quite some time. And this is much higher than even what she was estimating, a 30% increase due to inflation. This is worthy of much more discussion.
So would you guys like to,
I don't think we need to do anything. I think we need to wait and see how much engineering, value engineering can happen, and without losing grants, and see what that number can be.
yeah. Okay. So y'all ready to move on?
It sounds like it was a shock to you too when you saw it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming.
Okay.
And y'all keep him in the loop as well?
Yes, oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have item D on the agenda, water phase 1 work update. Brad, do you have that update, or should we keep moving?
I believe they're just still working on it. That's the only update I have.
That's the only update that I have, is they're still working on it.
Okay. All right. Next, we have our board appointments and reappointments. We have a planning board opening as an alternate member. Kyle Stalls interviewed with Mr. Doggett, myself, and with Dick Fulner, the committee chair of the planning board, and there was discussion, and I know that there are 2 members of the interviewing team that were okay with having Mr. Stalls on there. Mr. Stalls he was a gentleman that stood up at the last meeting and said, I really want to help you guys. I believe in de-annexation. I want to prevent it. Call me. He has jumped right in. He has done a lot for the town. taking weekend time off away from his young family. He is new to the town. He has background in working with this master plan, landscape architect. He's been in civil engineering and surveying. He is a representative for Duke Energy, or was for a year. But he seems to be a well-rounded person and can bring some new blood, if you will, to that committee. But again, he would just be serving as an alternate. So with that one, I'd like to separate these because they're on two different boards. So I'd like to open it up to discussion. Is there any discussion about Mr. Stahl?
I don't think we should appoint him because he's the face in the video.
Okay.
And I think that's bad optics for the town to place somebody on the board that is the face of the video and talking in the video. I just think that makes it look like we're stopping the death. And I just think it's just not a good look for the town.
Okay.
I understand John's reservation. I think though he's in the video because he wants to help. He's come to these meetings. He's been vocal about wanting to help. So he definitely seems like he's knowledgeable enough for the planning board. I've spoken to him a couple of times by happenstance, and I understand John's reservations. But at the same time, I think that it cuts the other way. It's a good thing to have somebody who wants to help Summerfield be on the planning board.
I met him last year and I encouraged him to find a way to get involved because I thought he'd be really good to help with things. And so I'm glad to see that he is getting involved.
We removed a council member, a person from the planning board for optics and the way it looked. And ethics and whatnot is optics. You can say what you want to. This is the same. It's an optics.
The person that your dad, Mr. Doggett, was removed because the policy was that no family member who serves, there's no immediate family member. But what would the policy, my question to you is, how would you shape the policy that would not allow him to be on there?
Well, there was not a policy. Y'all passed a policy to change it.
Right.
So I'm just saying that I believe that it is just not a good look for Summerfield to stack the planning board. It appears we're stacking the planning board to be against, which I agree, the de-annexation is terrible. So I don't want to say it because you think anyways.
It's a difficult question to, yeah.
I just think it's going to make it look like we're stacking it more towards against David, which is a bad look, instead of being open-minded like we should be.
I understand John's reservation, but again, I don't think it's stacking it against David. I think it's somebody who right now is very outspoken against de-annexation, and I myself am. So I'm very much against de-annexation. And I'm also against taking the control away from the local government. So I would make a motion that we appoint Kyle Stalls to the planning board as an alternate member.
I second it.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
Can we ask Jim his opinion?
Sure.
Well, I don't know if Jim should give the opinion in public.
Well, there's no policy that would prevent the appointment.
Can you add a term to your motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Said 3 years.
I move that Kyle Stalls be appointed to the planning board for a 3-year term as an alternate member.
And that term would expire on 7/27.
And of course, has it already been seconded? You seconded, right?
I seconded
So
it.
it's discussion?
Yes, sir.
So, and of course, Mr. Stalls would be required to uphold the UDO as it is, right?
Yes.
So, I fully understand John's reservation, but he would be expected to follow our UDO as it is, and that's regardless of who it is, whether it's David Couch or John Schmo.
If I'm correct, Brad, he went to the training for the planning board.
He attended it, yes. Sat in the audience.
All right, is there any further discussion?
And at this point, he's being appointed as an alternate. So it's not like he is a regularly voting member as well. Not that that matters, I'm just stating he's being appointed as an alternate. We have a full voting board now.
Yes.
Right.
It seems like a good time for me to add this too, because I should have mentioned it last month with Dwayne Cricht's appointment. In your packet, this page here, you'll see under number of members, we have no technical limit of members on the planning board. So if we wanted more alternates, for any reason, we could. We just have to have at least 5, as it says there in the first sentence.
Thank you.
And John, do you know if, do folks regularly miss those meetings? Does everyone usually show?
I know they've sat Ron before, and they've sat Dwayne before, so, yeah, there's a chance they'll sit.
So it might not be a bad idea to have another 1 or 2 people.
We used to have 2 or 3 alternates. Is he the only alternate here?
Tara removed herself. She's no longer.
Oh, Tara.
So we just have Ron
Just
and
one. Just one alternate now. All right, thanks for letting us know that, Tara.
So we'll have 2 alternates.
So now it would make 2 alternates.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion? I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so it's 3 to 1. All right, the second appointment this evening is for Andrew Broom. It's a reappointment as a full member to the Board of Adjustment. He's eligible for his second 3-year term. I can't make the motion, but would anybody like to?
Mrs. Mayor Pro Tem, I have had the opportunity to talk with Kyle Stalls. I have not had the opportunity to talk with Andrew Broom. In fact, I didn't. I must have missed it in the packet that was given to me last week. If possible, Councilman Robinson asked to postpone this, if it's possible, for another month, to give us, at least me, another time to talk with Mr. Broom before we make a motion.
Sarah, does that mess up any of his, when does his term end?
His term ended on 3/24.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's already passed?
Yeah, so if they have a meeting come up, then he won't be able to vote, which means they would maybe not have enough people, especially if we have a variance come up or something, because he is one of their full-time members.
Does anybody here know Mr. Broom?
I know Mr. Broom.
I know Mr. Broom.
All right. So
Yeah, he's legit.
I totally recommend
He
it.
attends all the meetings, he's well-known, well-liked, he's very active and involved.
John, do you know him?
I know of him, I don't know him personally. I don't have a problem with him.
All right, well.
I can make a motion.
Since they know him.
I make a motion that we approve Mr. Broom for another term starting
Immediately.
immediately, or what do you want me to put for the dates, Sarah?
It would be, I guess, 7/27 as well, is that what you?
Yes.
Ending 7/27.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
And Heath, you and I ought to reach out to him and meet him anyway, so we know who he is.
Okay, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So it's a 3 to 1, Ms. Tibbetts.
And Heath, just to make sure I understand, your vote is just because you haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, right?
That's what I asked for, yes.
Okay. Item F is a speed limit ordinance. We had talked about this a while back. It was on Lake Grant Road. Brad, could you help us out with this one by chance?
Yeah, so I struggle to remember the origins of this. It might have been a complaint from a citizen about speed limit being too fast on Lake Brett Road. I think that council approved, goodness, it might have been February, March now, a reduction of the speed limit on a portion of Lake Brett Road. It might have been north of Scalesville, thank you. So after that meeting, I asked DOT to review the rest of Lake Brett Road consistent with that complaint we had, and they agreed it should be reduced as well. So this is what that DOT, even though they control and maintain the roads, they're still asking for council's blessing, if you will, to reduce this speed limit.
So this takes Lake Brett Road from Scalesville all the way to 158, or at least to the Guilford County line?
I think it's the other way this time. I think this
It's
was
going south?
152 Scalesville.
152, okay.
Brad, I just want to make sure this is DOT initiated.
Well, we asked DOT to look at it, and DOT agreed with the town's request, I guess, for inquiry. So, not necessarily DOT initiated, but I think they're going to do it regardless because they control the roads. They still need council's blessing.
But they are in favor?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
They would not bring this to you if they didn't.
Thank you.
So we make a motion on this, there's not one written there.
Not one written, but yes, you can make a motion.
Okay, so does anybody else have any more comments before somebody would like to make a motion?
And Brad, this again, this is a formality for them, just being pleasant to see if we, because they can do whatever they want to do, right? And
Do we just make a motion to approve the speed limit change
as presented by the
as
DOT.
presented by the DOT?
Yeah, changes, because there's multiple. There's just the sections of that road, I think. Is that right, Brad?
How many total are there? Brad, was it 4 or no? It's more than that.
5.
So
Jim
150
was 5. I
northward
think he's right. If I count correctly.
5.
5 or 6. Right?
Plain.
Aren't there more than that, right?
I have 7.
7, yeah.
Really?
There's 7 of them.
So how they measure these, you'll see at the top there, where it says road. They usually measure these on different sections of the road. So if there's a cross section or a neighborhood crosses Lake Lake Road, that's how they measure this usually.
So do I need to state that number at the top, the concurring state ordinance number in the motion? I think that's what's different on each piece of paper, right?
Yes.
It is.
Do you want me to state all those in the motion?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I make a motion that we approve the speed limit changes as proposed by the NCDOT. Ordinance numbers 1019265, 1019264, 1085537, 1085540, 1085542, 1085544, and 1085545.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
You want to put Doggett down for a second?
That's what I heard.
Okay, and then any further discussion?
So now when someone gets a speeding ticket, I'm going to say this is Robinson's Law.
Yeah.
Okay, with no further discussions, I'd like to call a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. All right, the project dashboard, Mr. Clay, would you like to, Ms. Hall?
Well, the reason that we don't have the screen up there is because we didn't know that there was anything else that y'all wanted on the screen, and Brad tried to get the project lifespan because he can run it from his laptop, but it wouldn't run from his laptop because he didn't have permission to look at the dashboard. So we didn't know there was any other thing that we needed to show.
What do you mean permission to look at the dashboard?
It said he didn't have permission to look at it.
Oh, it's not that we don't allow him to.
No.
The computer wouldn't allow it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So I just printed it out, and I really would rather he discuss it because.
Oh, I'm assistant.
Well, no, I don't really understand all of it because it's not about the budget. It's about, total project costs that some of them, I really,
So this was a council request a few months ago. I offered my assistance to the finance officer and also with our assistant manager Cheryl. We spent some time putting this together. So this is a rough draft for you to review. This is a project lifespan dashboard from the conception of a project to its end. This goes beyond a single year, if so allocated for that project. If you look at the top, you'll see the activity, the initial start date, when it is estimated of a due date, and when it is actually completed. The progress is just math of where it is in relation to those dates. There is a status of where it is for that project. Approval, initiating, it's in planning. Next steps, so where does it lie? An estimated cost, a quoted cost, an allotted / budget cost, so actual money that has been spent as an expense, what that difference is, how does it compare to actual from budget, and any notes that is added for that specific project. For perhaps a delay, it's carrying over the next year, new information has been provided. I would encourage you to take a look at this on the Excel dashboard that's on our
well, nobody has permission to see it, that's what I'm saying.
Office 365.
When Brad tried to look, I emailed it to Brad and said, let's throw this up on my screen, and he
We need to publish it some way if that's
Yeah.
if you want to do it.
Happy to help you out with that if
the
needed.
only thing that I don't really, I want to say is like the difference column. And I told Heath this already, so let's look at the welcome sign. The difference in the column is the difference in the quote column and the actual cost. Like that, so I don't really know what we're saying whenever I say the difference, because we spent $6,270 in prior fiscal years on the welcome sign, and we budgeted $75,000 for this year. So that difference column makes it seem like we've only got $71,730 left to spend on the welcome sign, when the quote came in at 78. So what I'm saying is, some of these numbers I feel like are a little bit confusing, because that makes it seem like we've only got $71,730 left to spend on the welcome sign, when we really still have a full budget for this year to spend on that. If we were to get the welcome sign as designed completed by June 30th.
Does the difference mean that what it was originally quoted as versus what we've actually spent? Is that what it is? Right.
No, they're not in the same fiscal years. Like, that $6,270 was spent in prior years for cleaning, it was for grading the lot and clearing it off, and for the design.
So like on the capital improvement plan, I think, what was it, about 5 years? Yeah. So I guess on Heath's, when you guys are doing this, maybe you could add what you budget each year up until, I guess the question is, what's the actual cost of it going to be, right? No matter how many years you have to budget, whether you budget $50,000 this year, or the next year, or the next year.
So that's what the estimated cost column is. So like if we said the whole cost, that's if we were going to use the design that we had for the welcome sign. For the whole project would be $85,000, and then the quote cost said $78,000. That's the quote we have for construction.
Okay.
And then the actual cost that we've already spent in prior fiscal years on the welcome sign is $62.70.
You would
So-
think
so-
typically that actual would be part of the quote cost, but they did that was not part of the quote.
Of the current quote. That quote cost, see, that's what I'm saying, it's hard to explain. The quote cost is just for construction.
Just part of it.
That's the only thing that we have budgeted for this year because the design was already done in a prior year and clearing off the lot was already done in a prior year.
And Heath, you started working on this because you were curious as to how much we spent on projects and what's left on them, right?
It was actually.
It's my
Glenn.
idea because I had this original thing where I had the grants and I have, Dee was kind enough to do this because I wanted to lay out, we're going to take Bandera Farms and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grants on Bandera Farm. I wanted to know what each one was for. I wanted to know what the amount of each one was, what's the start date, what's the end date. But then as you get into that, what's the lifespan of that project over the years? What is it going to take? If it's when we first were quoted on it and it said $3 million, and then today or yesterday or whenever that quote came out, it came out at $6 million. Then I want to be able to track that and see at the same time, okay, where are we on grants? How much money do we have on grants that would cut down that $6 million? And that type of thing. I want to see the lifespan of the project, but then also see how long is it taking us to get through a project from start to finish. And then that tells us which ones it just helps us see our money and budget our money, I think.
So if I could, what is missing here is there's another tab that is specifically for grant funds, which is what you asked.
Which is the sheet, it's the same thing as the sheet I already gave you.
And I echo that I would encourage you to, and what we can do is, I'm happy to work with you. We can send out this spreadsheet. You can take a look at it. It's a rough draft, work in progress. But it is not to take away from what Dee is doing by statute and her financial records, but this is something new, I understand.
Yes.
That is a lifespan of entire project from how much something has expensed at whatever year it was compared to what was estimated and where we are with that project. I believe that was the goal.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat, Keith.
Well, if you look up the Bandera Farms Park Development, what I'm saying about the column that says difference is, so the estimated cost to start with was the 4.88, and then we got in the quote for the 6.6, and that formula on the difference makes it seem like that the $431,000 that we've already spent on Bandera Farms is coming out of that 6.65. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not coming out of that. That 6.6 is...
Oh, that's completely separate from the what's already sent. So that's in addition to the 430.
Well, some of it is and some of it isn't. And so the things that I have put, like whenever I start a project, I start a worksheet on every project. And so my beginning Bandera Farms worksheet starts in December of 2020 when we gave Piedmont Land Conservancy $82,500. So what I'm saying is that estimate, the 6.6 that we got for the design, is not going to go back in and include the 82.5. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's some of these things in here that need to be explained that I don't want y'all to, like, I don't want y'all to look at this and say, okay, the cost is 6.6, and that means, and we've already spent $431,000, and that means we've only got 6.2 left to spend. But they're not going to go back and give us money for the 82.5 that we've already put in. And then, you know, I include everything. Like, I include the appraisal for the land and the appraisal for the longhouse that we bought. And
Can your spreadsheet supplement this and be another tab?
You can.
And then Heath, you'll see if you can get Brad access to it.
Absolutely.
Then we can check it out next time.
All right.
It's neat. I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, to see
It's good to see it, yeah.
where we are, where we've been, how far we got to go.
Okay, moving on to item H. That's the video streaming of all town meetings. There have been some additional questions asked as this was put out. I know that Mr. Wendelkin is kind enough to videotape a lot of the meetings and stuff, and that's been helpful when going back. But I know I was wondering, should we not be doing that on our own for like our boards and the finance committee? And I know it said all town meetings. Yes, there's expense with like Ms. Tibbetts having to stay later for salaries and that type of thing, having to archive this. But if we're all digital now and on the cloud, I don't know how expensive that would be. And I don't have answers to that, but I think those are some of the questions that were coming in. This was a thought. This was, have I asked all committees? No, I have not. I just thought that we should discuss it. Does anybody else have any comments?
I've been thinking that I have brought this up as well. Like you said, the boards and the finance committee, so staff is already there. So we're not having extra.
We're not at all the committees.
No, we said boards and finance committee.
Oh, so you don't want to do Trails and Open Space and History Committee?
My priority was the boards and finance committee. And those are ones staff are already at, so it wouldn't cost extra to have, I mean, staff, they might take them a few more minutes, but they don't have to go to a meeting that a staff member wasn't already there for.
And my point to doing this was we might have a cost in, I believe, Brad, you said at one time a cost of around $6,000.
Well, actually, Sarah got a more quote today. Sarah, do you want me to discuss it, or do you want to?
I don't have it in front of me, so.
Okay, Sarah has been doing some hard work on this, and Brad, and so she spoke with Oak Ridge, Stokesdale, and Jamestown, because they don't stream committees, but they stream their council meetings. And Jamestown streams their council and planning board meetings, and Stokesdale streams council, planning board, and board of adjustment meetings. So what she discovered, which I think that Brad and Sarah had said maybe $7,000 for ad equipment at the town hall. Oak Ridge said that they paid $10,000 to $15,000 for microphones, cameras $16,000, and they have an IV guy that does it for them. And they pay him $175 an hour. And then Jamestown said they paid $15,000 for their equipment, $3,000 for a MacBook to run it, and the same AV guy that Oak Ridge uses is the same one that Jamestown uses. And then Stokesdale said that they paid $27,000 for their streaming and audio cameras and installation, and they have a dedicated telephone line for streaming software that has a monthly fee of $32.50 a month that ensures smooth connectivity. And so, just she's doing research about one of the towns.
No way we can just have somebody flip open their phone and go live or something.
I know, that's what. Well, we just didn't know what you guys wanted it to look like. Like me and Heath talked about the streaming situation at Town Hall and how it's not, well, AV, I guess, is not the best. Like if someone's not there to hook it up, you have to actually stand up on the table
and hook
into
a wire up, hook a cord up to the ceiling.
I thought it was fine at the retreat when we just had.
Well, that's because she moved all the equipment from here over there.
So why couldn't you duplicate that system and just have equipment set up, it stays, punch a button,
How much would that
let it
equipment
run,
cost, like she
and
said?
then, well,
So the equipment that you're talking about, how much would that cost? And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's for that original 7,000-ish, but again, Sarah got more quotes today from other towns because we didn't know exactly the extent of what you wanted. But the 7,000 would maybe cover, you probably need 2 cameras at Town Hall, new projector, wiring and installation. Microphones at Town Hall are an issue. I have no idea how to tackle that, especially with, it's like our retreat. We had council on both sides of the table, staff at the table too, whereas it's not here where you all are on one side. We can have 3 microphones, we have 2 tonight up in front of you. So there's a lot of challenges with that. So that's where 7,000 might be accurate or it might not be.
But at the retreat, we had 1 camera, no microphones, and it worked fine.
Works fine, right.
I mean, everyone heard, you heard what we were saying, right? You heard it fine. So why can't we just do 1 camera, no microphones, just like we did at the retreat? And keep it simple?
I think that 2 cameras at Town Hall would be better for sure. Because, again, we had 1 camera in the back near the Sarah's office, and it got all the sides of your faces and the screen, and that was the only way we could do it. But there was a meeting recently where Tim had his, I think, back of his head to the camera the entire time. It's just not a good way to, in my opinion, it's not a good way to do a town meeting like that.
Can we just remove that chair from that one end of the table?
You could.
And just have 1 camera, so no one's, Tim was in that 1 seat. That if we just remove that chair from the table, it would still be U-shaped facing 1 camera.
Well, the reason we have 2 cameras here is so we can have the camera switch to that camera on the ceiling whenever there is anything on the screen for people to look at.
But Brad, would that work? Just having the room set up in such a way that the camera wouldn't be obstructed by that 1 chair? Would that be cheaper?
Yeah. So when you had your special call meeting early afternoon not too long ago, there was an issue because that room was so bright that whatever was on the screen was just blown out by the exposure. So that's where I think the 2 cameras would help, where you can have 1 camera focus on the screen only, and then another camera focus on you all. So will it work? Yeah, it's worked in the past, but...
But then someone also has to sit there and change back and forth between cameras, and where at the retreat, it just ran. It just Facebook Lived it,
Yep.
Everyone could hear it.
We're going to try to nickel and dime you every way we can.
It's just how do you want it?
Yeah, so just the quality that you're looking for, because if you ever watch these videos, like the subtitles are, I mean, all over the place, and we've got comments like we can't see, we can't hear, it's blurry. Just a matter of how like professional do you want it to be, and then for here, you know, if we wanted to get better streaming equipment here, we need to secure it somehow, or if we want to do it there, what does it look like? Do we want to have a cart that we roll out that's really nice, that's always going to work, or do we want to put it up and break it down each time? Or what does it look like going forward? And then addressing Heath's question was, I guess your concern was committees or someone's like actually standing on the table and maybe getting hurt or falling because they have to do that.
On that, Mr. Clay had a question.
So I believe that we can improve on our AV from what we have in both the town hall and potentially in the community center. I'm not hearing the exact needs of what we, that's it. I don't understand exactly what the needs are. I think it's more of a discussion. I'm certainly open to helping anyone on this. I have some experience with this, but to move forward, I think we need some exact models and units, quantity, some quotes, and potential costs of really what this would entail. And I don't think we even know what exactly we want just yet.
That's what we're asking.
So before we say, hey, Stokesdale spent this, and this could be, I'm looking over here, this could be $4,000 or $5,000. To me, there's no sense in saying, hey, yeah, let's go with $5,000 when we have no idea really what we need. So let's hone it back in of what we exactly do need, and if we can't figure that out together, then we'll need to get some professional help to do that.
So what do people think about actually having this? At least start with the boards and the finance committee.
I think it's nice. I just hate to vote on spending any more money right now.
Yeah, for as much money as these numbers we're talking, I don't want to.
Moving forward now.
Just like having, number one, are you interested in it maybe being a potential thing? If that's a yes, then would y'all want to come up with a consensus to let Mr. Clay help sort this out. And it doesn't, not necessarily for next,
I will assist staff.
assist,
I'm happy to assist staff.
like, in the fall or whenever, not right this second.
I'm happy to assist staff when they need it.
Or do you want to
Should we
drop it?
table this and, well, let's table this and we'll revisit it.
All right.
Mr. Wendell, how much would you charge per video after you recorded it?
Nothing. I won't edit it. I have 2 cameras. I want to say something, but I have 2 cameras. One that I use from Summerfield News and publish, certain things, and I could have one running the whole time, and I'll upload it to YouTube, and you can do what you want with it. It would be unedited, but it's up to you.
Well, I might give you a deal. Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay. All right, reports, updates, comments, does anybody have anything? I had just asked about the dog signage, and that's being, it's decided upon, it's being worked upon, and it's in production. So hopefully that'll be done pretty soon. Maps and trails. I had asked, I still had a citizen requesting information on, and I looked on the website at our maps, and that threw me to another rabbit hole. So I'll try to stay back on task on this one. Is there a way we can overlap all of our trail maps so everybody could see in one spot where they all are, how they align, how they don't align, and then is there a way to target if somebody has approved for it to go through their land, and so people can see how the trails are moving. When I looked at some of the maps trying to answer the citizen's question online, some of them lined up, one in particular lined up with Brookbank Road, and it looked like it was actually on the road, but I think it's actually supposed to be running parallel with Brookbank, but back in the woods on the back side of owner's property, but I don't know for sure, I couldn't tell. Is there a way to do that?
You're talking about with the 3 greenways
Yes.
on one map?
Is there anything like that already, Brad?
I don't believe so. That sounds beyond my GIS capabilities, so we might have to, I think Trails and Open Space has a contractor we work with. So Stephanie Jane Edwards,
Yeah.
I would probably shoot that over to her.
I would agree to that. I would, at the last TOS meeting, there was someone there that was just amazing with the map creation and the overlay. I would recommend kicking that back to them to see if it's something they can do.
Trails and Open Space has made their budget request for the year, and they have included mapping from Stephanie Jane.
Okay.
They included what, I'm sorry?
Mapping from Stephanie Jane.
Okay. Let's see. I just asked about the certificates because at the retreat we all took a class and it ended up being past the required time limit, and I was told Mr. Carruthers is going to work on getting us those certificates.
He said it slipped his mind, but I gave everyone's names last week, and him and his colleague are working on it. I got a kickback from her last week that she was out until some early date this week or something, so we should get them soon.
Okay. I just want to make sure. And did you want to see update of the truck then?
I wanted to ask about the planning board meeting and the TAs. Did we decide, I think we had said we wanted to wait on it not go to the planning board.
Where are we at?
We're at the other.
Okay.
Our updates, reports, comments.
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to get an update on that.
Yes, Jay.
I talked to Heath just briefly before this council meeting about that, and I think we have some more discussions coming. So I guess the main impetus was I received questions citizens for those 2 text amendment requests, and that's why I'd like to go ahead and get the council or the planning board to eventually meet before the council. I did say in my email to the planning board that we did plan to do a large text amendment later in the year after some work sessions, but since I got requests from citizens and they have their own personal reasons for wanting it sooner, and they would like to go ahead and bring those. Coincidentally, they were text notes that planning staff had already identified that we wanted, or at least wanted to bring before council. So that's why I felt more comfortable with going ahead and bringing those. But I think the majority of council has written back to me expressing concern and wanting to wait, which we will do what council wants on that.
Do we need to be an action to be a truck? Then we talk about,
Do you want to take it off?
that's what I'm saying, does it need official action?
Well, we have to talk about it.
Do we need to talk about if we want to take the truck off, the second truck off the CIP? I would like to take it off the CIP. Does that need official action?
If we want to take something off the CIP, then we have to have
A
a
vote?
motion
A
and a
motion?
vote.
How often do you actually review the CIP?
Not this year.
So,
Yeah, we don't update it every
But
year.
you can do it anytime, right?
I never have done it on a different year, but if y'all say to do it, I'll take it back to the finance committee.
So there's no plan or budget to purchase a vehicle? Okay.
and we could always, could we, if we want to remove it from the CIP, could we just vote to have it removed the next time the CIP is updated? Do it that way?
The
We could
truck
vote
is
now.
on the CIP for 3 years from now if the green truck dies.
But we just had the CIP meeting. I mean, we just had our meeting and discussed the CIP.
I think
So-
Janelle's,
That was just
We
an.
I had
approved it
asked-
last year. It was approved last year.
But we just, the finance meet, the special called meeting that we just had where we discussed the CIP.
You did discuss it, but it's not being updated this year.
But when I asked how often is it updated, it was, there wasn't a specific timeline given. We just did it for the first time, and so, right?
No, I just said the current CIP that we have, you just adopted last fall. And so, I mean,
if we adopted it last fall, would we update it this coming fall?
no.
No.
When
When
we-
would be the next time? What's your normal increment of time?
Well, I think in my mind, I thought we would update it every 3 years.
Every what?
Every 2 or 3 years, I thought.
So there's
We
no
haven't
official,
updated-
like we update it every blank many years.
Do we have a policy?
About when we update the CIP?
I don't know, I'm asking.
It's been 6 months since we updated it last.
And we don't have a set schedule of when we update it, correct?
No.
Would it be a lot of trouble to remove it from the CIP?
Just reprinting them all.
When you say reprinting them all, what do you mean?
It's just a little fancy document that we have.
I mean, but how many do you have
But
to
keeping it on there doesn't mean that we're purchasing it either. It's just on there as if needed.
It's a 5-year plan that we adopted September 12th.
If we needed to purchase a vehicle, would we need to do an amendment?
No, this is not a budget.
And that's what I'm saying. If we needed to, in this count, the 2024.
If the beater truck that Rick uses to move trash and construction equipment and things that he's doing dies, we've been able to keep it going all these years, then you could give.
But you
money
wouldn't
to
purchase
get
it based upon this on the CIP. It would still come, okay.
I understand that's how it works, but my concern is that I don't want future councils to think it's on there because previous councils thought we needed it. I don't think we need it.
We did vote for it.
Every time I drive by the town hall, the white truck is sitting there. I rarely see it used, and I think to buy a second truck, I would need to see the first truck we have being used most of the time instead of rarely.
And
So
she may
I
have
don't
voted-
think we need a second truck, so I don't want next councils to think.
We have 2 trucks now, and I've gone back and tried to figure out how that came about, that you thought that it was for the Parks and Rec, but it says in the budget, the year we bought it, that it was to be used across all departments.
The white
So
truck?
what it gets used for is code enforcement, like whenever we have, and so that we're not pulling up just in a private vehicle or the beater green truck, just, to have a nicer truck to pull up to somebody's house and talk about their code enforcement problems. And also, it gets driven around to pick up signs and,
It's driving law.
so
But it
it's
said on the CIP it was to replace the utility truck. So we replace, so if it was
That's
to.
the green truck, the utility truck.
Right,
is the green
it was to
truck.
replace the green truck. So I don't,
3 years from now.
no, the first CIP, this white truck, it said this white truck that we already purchased was to replace the utility truck. So I don't think we need to replace the utility truck again. It was we had one truck, the CIP was to purchase another truck to replace that one truck. So I don't see now why it's still on the CIP to get a second truck. I don't think we need 2 trucks.
Does it matter? No, I think I understand what you're saying.
Given the fact that we have these issues with rising costs anyway and certain things doubling, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea just to consider the CIP as a whole here soon. And that way we can look at that in combination with everything else and see what the 5-year plan's looking like, particularly since everything's ballooning.
So
it might have to increase
more than just the truck. Just saying.
I mean, instead of making her look at the truck right now and remove it, and of course if that's what folks want to do, it's fine too, but maybe just review the CIP as a whole sometime soon, considering the costs are ballooning, because we might need to look at this 5-year plan. That's what it is, right, Dee? Is it 5 years? 5-year plan to see if those things align with what we believe them, had believed them to be. We might have to change, some things might have to be increased. I don't know.
Councilman Robinson, is there anything else on the CIP that you were worried about?
Well, is Bandera on there? And now we know Bandera went up by 3 million. So a lot of those numbers could have to change. We could have to do a lot of shifting in our budget to cover a lot of expenses that are coming up that we didn't realize last fall we were going to have.
And the CIP,
It's not a budget.
but it's just sort of, but it's something that there is a reason why we make it, right? And so if there's a reason why we make it and the costs are different and they're significantly different, probably wouldn't be a bad idea since you're curious about that and there's a lot of other things going on, let's just put the CIP on. We'll review it as a council.
This fall.
And just
Should
give an
we
idea.
get through the budget first and then put it on for this fall?
Sure.
Like August? Would that give you enough time?
Would that meet your concern too?
I'm
No, we're
good
good
with that.
So can you say that we're gonna bring that up in August, please?
What's that, John?
I just want a date. You say soon, what is soon to you, what is soon to you, what is soon to, I want a date.
I suggested August.
Do you think John, what are your thoughts? Do you think it should be reviewed this year at all?
It was just passed 6 months ago. I mean, it just seems like it's a lot of work on them, that we're trying to tackle other stuff right now that seems more important than a truck. I mean, I understand using it as a tool, but to me, there's much more pressing things than that. We're not.
I'll take it. I have a finance committee meeting Monday night, and I'll tell them that you want them to redo it.
And I will. I mean, do you want to keep it in the fall?
If we do it, why don't we do it at the 1 year mark?
Yeah. I mean, considering the costs are different, I tend to think that since things are significantly different this year than what we believe they were last
Are you okay
year,
with the 1 year mark?
that
I just
Yeah, 1 year mark. Let's do it at the 1 year mark. Okay.
So that would be September, correct?
Well, they would need to start working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, item J, IT.
okay.
So I had asked a question. I wanted to know, get an update on Gray and Creech and how that, how the retirement has transferred over to Gray and Creech, and just how things have been going. Do y'all have any type of update on your staff's end?
We've been working with Gary Creech, getting us onboarded onto their, system and software. The gentleman and the young lady that's been there has been wonderful, really knowledgeable, professional. It's been great.
Can we get contact information for them?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
In case we have like.
Well, I had a question, and it was like on the last day and then the first day of April, so Bill Stone couldn't answer it. That when he got it, he said, yes, but I can't answer it now because it's new people, and I don't have contact information to ask the new people yet.
But things are going well with them, huh?
Yes.
Good.
Even the help desk line would be good, just in case we have issues.
That's what mine is for email.
Okay, and then also, it says we won't need to amend this year's budget unless we get a new server. Is there a situation with that?
No, Jamie is his name, the tech support guy that's been assigned to us. Their normal Bill's normal bill without adding anything on it, like public records requests or, setting up somebody's new computer or something like that, is $12.25 a month, and that includes all his monitoring of everything and any phone calls that we give them, just normal stuff. And their normal bill every month is going to be $14.82, so it's not that much more, and that's why I said that we wouldn't need to amend the budget. I didn't believe, but he said that our server, the warranty is going to run out in January 2025, and so he, wanted us to be planning on. So every year during this time when I'm doing the budget, Bill tells me what he thinks we need to put in the budget for next year for any hardware that we need, any new computers that we need. He has everything on a schedule. And so he already had on the schedule to replace the server for next year. But they're looking at whether or not, just costs, maybe it would be cheaper to go ahead and do it now. And so he's going to let me know that, Jamie is, and he's going to get a budget worksheet to me so I can put everything in the budget. So just for their normal work, there won't need to be a budget amendment, but there will need to be a budget amendment if they decide that it's more cost effective to replace the server back in 30th.
Okay. Is everything backed up on the cloud now?
So I found out it was actually backed up to the cloud before. We had a secondary, I guess, third and fourth, I don't know what those terms are, backups with hard drives that we can switch out. But yes, we are, I think, as of sometime this week, switched over to
Onto their cloud.
Yeah.
So Bill had us on a different cloud, I guess, and so we are now getting backed up on their cloud as well as backed up in different places.
So we don't need the hard drives anymore? Is that?
So apparently, I understood from Bill, the hard drives were just kind of for staff's self-confidence. The cloud is the main backup, and the hard drives were just, I guess, if Armageddon happens. We have.
Has that activity ceased?
The hard drives?
Yes.
We're not
I think we
switching.
stopped that, right?
Yeah, we're not switching them out. And Jamie said something along the lines of once they are confident that they have everything and they can double check that it's all transferred over, then there would be no need for anything like that going forward. And it would all just be in the sky.
I'd like to get a little more clarification about the unit that is going out of warranty versus it no longer being operable. Does it allow continued updates?
Well, he said he wouldn't be able to get any updates past January 2025.
Okay.
And that's something Bill and Jamie have talked about, where the industry apparently has changed the past couple of years, where you could buy a year's worth of updates, and sometimes that would be cheaper than buying a whole new system or server. And apparently that is just changed now. They want you to buy a new server.
He doesn't want us to have anything past being able to get an update.
Right.
Because then, there's no way he can protect us from cyber attacks or.
Has he talked about any virtual units? Maybe I got
Okay. You good? Everybody's good? All right. Is there any other business that we need to take care of?
Just something I thought I'd mention. I saw on the League of Municipalities site or email that this was the local bill request deadline is April 15th. The reconvening of the North Carolina General Assembly is just around the corner, and a key bill filing a deadline will come even sooner. Local bills important to cities and towns to address certain key local concerns must be submitted to the Bill Drafting Division of the Legislative Services Office by April 15th at 4 p.m. They then must be introduced to either the State House or Senate on May 7th. If you need a local bill, that means it's critical to have conversations with your local legislators now. Legislators themselves must make these requests and meet the April 15th deadline. I was just going to ask, have we ever before talked to our legislators about putting in bills for us? Or is that what is that how he's going to try to get grants? I mean, do you all have any knowledge of how we did it before, or if we've ever done that before?
Never done it before.
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of that before. When I saw it, it might be a good thing to look into to see if we can have help with certain things. Probably too late now at this point, but for the next year's. And then the other issue was, I wanted to bring up for just a second. If I could just go back to Bandera Farms for a minute. Mr. Wendelkin, you had an idea earlier. Do you mind telling us what it is? Because I just want to hear it and let them hear it.
Well, my suggestion is instead of trying to rack your brains out in the small town that we are, the small staff that we do have, and the Bandera Farms, which is all these uncertainties of what's going to happen, how much it's going to cost, the landscaping, all of the pond, doing all this work. My suggestion is deed the property to Guilford County. We are invested in that property already, as you all know. Let them help this big project. They put the project on our small town. Why, I don't know, but it's in Summerfield. But Guilford County has all of the people in the world you can imagine to get all this stuff done, all the contacts, and you deed the property to them, but all the small towns around here are still part of it. Let them manage that. We're not losing grip on this. We are all still part of this. So instead of trying to figure out everything, how much it's going to cost, who's going to do that, let's do this, let's do that. Ask the county, say, if we deed this to you, we'll help, and then have a representative from the town be a part of that, so the town is aware of what the county's working on. Because they've got all the public parks in Guilford County. They manage them very well. They got all kinds of people to help with that.
But I think Guilford County said no.
Well, my point here is this. It's either say, here, we are invested, you're invested, Oak Ridge is invested, here's where we're at. It's not say you're quitting. It's like, hey, this is beyond our staff. We can't do all this. So we're offering this back to you. If not, we don't know what's going to happen. You know what? They're going to take it. They're not going to let this fall through.
Thank you, Mr. Wendelkin. I just wanted he had said that to me, and I never really heard that before, so I didn't know much about it, so I thought I'd let him tell everybody here so we can look into it too to see if it is something that would be a good solution. Like I said, I don't know anything about that stuff, but thank you for sharing.
Okay, any other business? Then we'll move to closed session.
Madam Mayor, Pro Tem, I respectfully request that the council meet in closed session to consult with this attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move to closed session. Mr. Hoffman, do you expect us to bring anything back, or can we let our citizens go? into session.
Motion to come back into session?
A second.
Okay, any discussion?
No one wants to mess up the motions now.
Did you confirm the?
We do that after we come back in. So, may I take a vote for coming back into session? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any, we're not to, any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries, we're back in session. And I need to make another motion that to confirm what we discussed in closed session. So, I want to confirm, I can make the motion to do that.
All you're doing is asking the council
I'm
to
asking them
confirm.
to confirm that we discussed what we said we were going to discuss. Okay, so, we discussed in closed session to consult with our attorney in order to preserve our attorney-client privilege concerning a pending mediation involving the town and Scott Whitaker, and a pending administrative procedure involving the General Assembly pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3. So I need confirmation from council.
Is that just a yes?
Is that just a yes?
Just to confirm.
Okay.
Confirmed?
Confirmed.
Okay, so everybody, I confirm, everybody's confirmed. All right, now I will make a motion. Thank you.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're done. Thank you.
Ethan, I think with the confirmation, we're all going to have it now.
You don't have to know. Come on.
Oh, it takes
Come on.
You know what I mean? Like, don't have to